We are rolling into the regularly scheduled meeting. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the District to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas, on the 13th day of February 2019 at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on February 8th, 2019 at 1:30 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551-041, 551-050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. This is a continuation. We do have the presence of a quorum. The full board is present. We've already done the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Moving on to item 3, invitation to the audience for public comments. Does anyone have anything at this time? Yes, can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is William Alcar. I'm president of South Padre Island Golf Homeowners Joint Venture. I'd like to just share some information with you all tonight. Harlingen Country Club pays $750 a year for irrigation water from the municipal utility district. McAllen Country Club pays $11.55 an acre foot. Cimarron Country Club pays $58 an acre foot. We can go on. There's a number of golf courses that are getting free water. And I'll leave this information with you. The Harlingen Irrigation District for untreated water charges $10 an acre foot. San Benito Irrigation District charges $11 an acre foot. Bayview Irrigation District charges $24.40 an acre foot. You all are charging $338 an acre foot. Currently, the golf course is paying 582% higher than the next highest rate. Let me go back and review a little bit of the history. In 1994, the predecessor of the Laguna Madre Water District and the predecessors to the golf course contracted with respect to the provision of raw irrigation water to the property that's now the golf course community. That contract was at $2 a thousand gallons, 2 cents. That contract required the predecessor of the golf course to acquire the water rights from the Rio Grande. Looking forward to 1996, there was an agreement between Laguna Madre Water District and the predecessors to the golf course concerning water to the golf course. And that was to service the area of 277 acres that make up the golf course and the surrounding communities, including the 5 HOAs. That agreement had a schedule to it where there was an arm's length negotiation for the water rate based upon the cost to the district. That schedule produced a rate of 31 or 32 cents per 1,000 gallons. Our accountants looked at that same methodology and applied it today, and they still get to, because of the depreciation of the water facilities over 40 years in the agreement, they still get to 31 or 32 cents per 1,000 gallons. With respect to setting the rate, I know that the board had an expert. Being involved in litigation as an attorney, each side has an expert. Generally, half of them are wrong. Half of the people lose. We are in court.
We do have a time limit, so we're approaching that, yes.
With you all with respect to the water rate. Hopefully, we can find a way to deal with this. But again, with the other rate, the 55-cent rate before it was raised, that was 300% higher than anyone else. The 32-cent rate is still 180% higher than the next highest rate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any other comments, staff, board, anyone like to present anything at the time? Thank you. We'll be moving forward to Item 4, consider and discuss for possible approval of the minutes of the workshop meeting of regular meeting on January 23rd, 2019. So everyone had a chance to review them. Comments or questions, anything in particular? Motion for approval by Mr. Avalos.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 5, General Manager's Report. Request for proposals for legal counsel and the audio and visual video update.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Regular meeting?
I did. We just approved them.
Yeah, we just approved.
Yes,
I thought we did the workshop. Okay.
They were together, correct?
yes.
Minutes in, where was it
They're
combined?
together. Yeah, they're together. Yes, Mr. Enrique, our assistant, he's not here today because he had to leave, but we set out the request for proposals for legal counsel on the permanent part. And once we receive them, we'll get our professional services committee again. And just like we did the engineering, we'll do the same thing, same process. And I believe March the 3rd is when we receive all those packets, the date for review. But I'll call you up and set a date on it so we can get together again like last time for the engineer. But this is for the legal counsel.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let the board know that we already sent our RFPs advertised, and you can look at our website and find the information in there. And we have the backups, so we have them ready to provide for whoever's interested in applying for that.
Okay.
We got that one. And then the audio and the video, I did talk to Mr. Sanchez, the gentleman that does our photos, the ones that we have up there. You can see that he did a good job on it. But
Yeah.
he said he can do the videos for us, and like a 3-minute type of video with all the
Promotional.
information. But he's actually going to go out and video the river pump station, the Cuates reservoir, and then the water treatment plants, and produce a video. Edit the video according to what we requested, and anybody can be welcome to be with us when we edit. If you're interested, Mr. Houston, and attend that editing part, and we're working on that one already. So as soon as we had a good date today, but
Did you go out for RFPs for those services?
no, it's not going to cost like enough to do RFPs.
It's going to
So-
take more than just a 3-minute video,
Well,
Carlos.
well,
to
we can.
explain-
I mean, if it's a 15-minute video or
All right, but I mean,
okay, so we'll find out once
Okay.
we try this. What he's trying to show us.
I think you
He can
just
do
need
it
to
for
write
us.
an outline of kind of what you want to do.
Yeah,
You got to
that's
start
what
with
we-
an outline of what you want to address, the topic, an introduction, sites you want to show, things you want to discuss, and drone and staff interview, and take it from there.
it's an educational.
It's an
Yeah,
education, but you got to start with an outline of it and take it from
Right.
there.
But,
Can't just, show
It's not
up.
going to be very costly. He said it's not going to be very costly, so
That's good.
We'll take his word for it, and then
Just keep in mind, if you had in your mind our entire consumer as your audience,
Short, brief
what would you want to
education.
tell them?
oh yeah.
What would you want to tell them about how to use their water, what not to put down the drain, what to throw away? Oh, I mean, all of it. Like, what would you want to educate them? And you could chop it up, yeah, but I'm with Mr. Houston. We're probably going to collect a lot
Right.
of video and then chop it however we wish, and we'd want
Yes.
rights to all that. So I think it's a great idea.
Like I said, whoever's welcome, and then that doesn't mean that we're gonna be doing the audio. We can always do the audio afterwards and work on it and add it to it.
I got a great voiceover. I got a face made for radio, so
Perfect.
free of charge.
Utilize it.
I do have one request in regards to the RFQ process for our legal counsel.
Okay.
If we could provide tacos instead of donuts this time, for the interview process, yeah, let's ex-nay Krispy Kreme, bring in more tacos.
If I remember correctly, the last time we bought tacos, you didn't eat one.
No, I was on a diet then, but I'm off the diet now. See the picture and you can tell. Sorry, go ahead. I know we got a lot to cover.
We got it. But that's the update on it. You know, we have somebody already working on it, and we'll get together and add whatever verbiage we need to.
I do agree with Mr. Friedman that we need to create an outline of what we're trying to accomplish first before we start assigning work to him.
No, yes, he did request that from us. You know,
Great.
he wants to know what we need and all that. So we're working on it, put all that together, and then start. Yeah, he wants a nice, beautiful day to go use the drone out at the river, Pates, and then the water treatment plants. You know, so he'll pick up a whole bunch of information on the video, and then we'll just modify the rest of the verbal stuff.
I mean, all of our hot topics, odor, education, raw water education, I mean, all that stuff. I think it's all could be used at some point.
Yes.
Anyway, thank
It'll
you.
be- Then that's it on my report. So,
Thank you, Carlos.
yes, sir.
Moving on to 6, introduction of the interim legal counsel Fryer and Hanson Law Firm for Laguna Monterey Water District.
Yes, I introduced Mr. Brian Hanson to you all earlier. Yeah, everybody got the video. And I just wanted, there was an attachment to that one for y'all to read and see what their experience is, so y'all can be aware that they are professional water plant, water treatment, water councils. So,
We practice, we're based in McAllen, myself and my partner Richard Fryer. We both used to work for J.W. Dyer. That was his father-in-law. He was my boss until he passed away 7 years. We represent more than 80% or more of what we do is just water supply corporations, irrigation districts and water districts and water loans. That's what we do. We represent the biggest and the third biggest water supply corporations in the state, North Alabama and Sugarland. We also represent East Rio Hondo over here and El Mito, so we extended the lower valley. We're able to get to you in no time if you need us. Our main priority are our retainer water clients. And so you get a call back from us that day, unless there's something really strange going on, and we are responsive to you. You're our top priority. Listed, this isn't a complete resume, but attached to it, just with our general qualifications in the area of law that we practice are various, those are just the appellate cases that we've dealt with, much of them having to do with water. A few of them going to the Texas Supreme Court. I've had the opportunity to argue there a couple of times. So one of them having to do with a lawsuit with the water plant. So we have a lot of experience. We're very excited for this opportunity to serve as your interim counsel.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and taking your time and starting a relationship.
So,
I have a question. Carlos, you weren't surprised when Mr. Hanson showed up today, right? Like you knew he was coming?
Oh, yes, I did. I was going to say that I had met Mr. Fryer in 2015 when we did the last RFPs. And he left me a card. And I remember that he said, if you ever need anything, well, I did need an interim. So I decided to call him.
Great.
And that's the way we acquired their services today. So,
Sounds very qualified. Look forward to interviewing you. Thank you for being here today.
thank you, sir.
yes.
Thank you.
Then-
Any board staff, anyone questions, comments on the introduction? Thank you. Moving to 7, consider, yes?
I had can we move up our audit
Yes.
presentation?
Yes.
Because they
No problem.
come far away. and-
What item?
Item number,
what is it, 14?
here we are, 14, yes. We're going to, at this time, move to item 14, and then we'll resume the meeting from there. Item 14, presentation by Mr. Quentin Anderson with Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, CPAs and Advisors, September 30th, 2018, financial audit for Laguna Monterey Water District's financial statements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Gillan, thanks for accommodating us. My name's Quentin Anderson. I'm a partner with Carr, Riggs, and Ingram here in the Valley. This is Luciana, who worked with your personnel in supervising most of our audit field work. Ordinarily, Carlos Barrera would be here to make this presentation, but he's out of town today. And so I'm going to do my best to fill in for him and give you an overview of your annual financial report.
Thank you.
Those are being passed out. You should have two documents. One is some required communications to members of government, that's you as a board, and that's a discussion about the conduct of the audit process. I'm going to go through that briefly, and then we'll look at some of the financial information. But in those communications, this document is designed for most of our audit clients, governmental in particular, and it talks about the audit process. If we jump into page 3, in our role as auditor and your role as management and client responsibilities in the audit process, it talks about judgments that take place in evaluating accounting estimates. It talks about accounting policies that your organization would adopt. And most of this document would look the same whether I was here at your water district or another water district or the city of Brownsville, so it's not unique to you. Some of the things that would be unique, page 6, during the conduct of the audit, if we became aware of any matters that were indications of fraud or other illegal action, we need to bring that to your attention, and we did not come across any matters like that. There are some internal control matters that we have included in this report that would be unique to you, and I'll flip back to those. They're very minor in nature. Page 8, an organization like yours has a lot of estimates that are included in your financial statements. It's not unusual to have those, things like allowance for doubtful accounts, estimates of depreciation, and organizations of your type have those kind of estimates, so that's not unusual. We didn't have any significant adjustments during the audit process, and that's good. That means your finance personnel did a good job keeping accurate records and just had year-end closing entries, and that would be important. We report that to you on page 10. We get representations from management. Back on page 11, that says management acknowledges their responsibility for financial reporting and for being sure that the financial statements fairly disclose any major issues or significant items that should be disclosed, and that's a standard representation that we would get from any of our clients and from management personnel. So nothing unusual in those representations either. The couple of advisory comments that we had begin after page 15. They were very minor in nature. We suggested that you consider the need for an alternate power supply. Looking at it seems like when the power goes out, the computers are out, and there's not much you can do. And we made a recommendation about giving some consideration to that. And then you also be familiar with, as board members, the fact that your organization follows the Public Funds Investment Act. And that act requires you to have an investment policy and to appoint an investment officer to get investment training and to report to the board periodically on compliance with the act. And so we made a recommendation that you hadn't approved the readoption of those policies, and immediately after bringing that to your attention, I think in your October meeting, you went ahead and made that approval. So neither of those two items were significant in nature and not something that, if I were board members, I'd be overly concerned about. So we didn't come across other significant matters. So let's look at the bound financial statement, and I'll give you a brief overview of that financial statement. You can turn to the table of contents. You're ready to go in any good book to see kind of what's in this document. The independent auditor's report is on page 3. And you engaged us as independent auditors to render an opinion on the financial statements, and that's what this document talks about. So we've audited the financial statements as of the end of your fiscal year and for the year that ended September 30th. Again, it talks about management's role. Our job is to report on the financial statements, and management's job is to have a good set of books and records that can be audited. That's what you have them do all year long, and they've done a good job with it based on our tests. And so our auditor's responsibility section talks about the judgments that we make in designing our tests so that we can render our opinion, and that's on page 4. The opinion that the financial statements fairly present in all material respects the financial position for your organization and the changes in your financial position. So that's an unmodified report. That's what you would want as board members, a clean opinion on your financial statements. Because you're a water district, and there's also some other required supplementary information that's included in your report as a government. And you've got those required items. There's management's discussion and analysis, which is a narrative overview of financial information. There's information about your budgets that you adopted, and information on pension liabilities, things of that nature. There's also some other supplementary information. Because you're a water district, there's some required Texas supplementary information. You've got several schedules in the back of the document that include that required supplementary information. And then because you're a government, on page 5, we've also issued a separate report on the government auditing standards that deal with internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. And I'll turn to that report in a moment. But if we take a quick look at management's discussion and analysis, begins on page 6. What you'll find there is a document that your finance department's put together that highlights the financial condition of your district, changes in that financial condition. And you can see it better beginning on page 9. We put some exhibits together that have a comparative schedule showing your net position from one year to the next. Your total net position at the end of the previous year was a little over $68 million. It's almost $68.5 million this year, so it's grown a little bit. And we can see total assets at about $96 million this year, $97 the year before. If you turn to page 10, you'll see how that net position changes. That's a very, very summarized breakdown of your total revenues, which are over $11 million. Big source of revenues, of course, charges for services. People with their water and their water bill, and then property taxes is a source of revenue too. And then you have your expenses, which were pretty comparable from one year to the next, about $10.6 million each year. So the net position grew by about $400,000. That table, that's a very summarized table. The detailed financial statements are included after management's discussion and analysis, and I encourage you to, kind of give a good study of those. I want to take you to a couple other big areas in the financial statements, and look at page 14. You know that you've been involved in some major capital projects. Page 14 shows that you had over almost $7.5 million of capital outlay during the year on these projects, and so you've used a lot of the capital projects fund balance. You had $7.5 million the year before, $1.1 million left at the end of the year, and you'll see in the notes of the financial statements some detailed information about your capital assets and these capital projects. Take a look at page 16, very summarized table of your liabilities. Just a breakdown of your long-term liabilities, which at the end of the previous year were about $28 million. Now they're about $26 million. You've got some general obligation bonds or revenue bonds outstanding, and you made payments on that debt. There's notes to the financial statement and some supplemental exhibits that show you, all the debt service that you've had during the past year. But that's a recap of some of your long-term liabilities. I want to take you to one more exhibit. Page 18 is one of your primary financial statements, and a statement of net position. Net position is the difference between your assets and your liabilities. Okay? And so, if you're any business or even a household, you say, the bigger net position is, the better off you feel, because it means, what you own is greater than what you owe, right? Net position is the difference. So you had that. Page 18 shows your recap of total assets, and it goes on to the next page with total liabilities, and then net position, like we saw on the summarized chart, nearly $68 million, which means assets exceed liabilities by that large amount. There's a activity statement of activities. If you're a business, you say, this is my income statement. Revenues and expenses, the difference is the change in that position. It shows this schedule is broken down by all your funds. Your general fund, you've got a emergency preparation fund, your debt service fund, your capital projects fund. You see on page 20, this is overview
Mhm.
of financial information. I'm glad to answer any questions that you have. If I can't, Zeus can, and if neither of us can, then Mr. Salazar can. So, he's done a good job with the financial. There are a lot of notes in the financial statements. I want to take you back to another exhibit, page 68. You want to kind of see how things, right now we know how things are, because we're looking at 2018. This exhibit shows you 5 years of history on revenues and expenditures and the difference between the two. So, and your revenues, they've been $9.5 million almost for nearly 3 years. In 2015, they were $8 million, 2014, $7.4 million. Expenditures, at least for the past 3 years, have been about $7 million. $7 million, $6.9 million, $6.9 million. So pretty comparable from a budgetary perspective. That's in your general fund. Debt service funds on page 69. And page 69 shows 5-year history of your revenues there. Property taxes have been about the same, about $1.5 million, $1.4 million for nearly 3 years. Back in 2014, something unusual going on there, and I think part of that's additional higher property tax rate, different debt service back in 2014. In the last report, I want to take you to, again, there's a lot of supplemental information. The last report is the compliance section on page, begins on page 74. If you remember, when we were looking at the independent auditor's report, I said because you're a governmental entity, we conducted audits according to government auditing standards. And we issued this separate report on page 74 that deals with internal controls over financial reporting. That's how well your processes are in accumulating information and producing information that can be audited and presented to you as a board and to the public. And then also we looked at compliance and other matters based on the fact that you're a governmental entity. So there's a lot of words in the report on page 74. Much of it's definitions of what a deficiency is. But if you look at the bottom of page 74, it'll say in the second to the last sentence, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be material weaknesses. What should be looking for. You see that in the next page. I think equally as important, page 75, compliance and other matters. The last sentence of that first paragraph, what you'd be looking for is that the results of our test disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. That's what you want to see. No material weaknesses, no items of non-compliance. Again, in the financial reporting process, we found your records to be in order and only had routine year-end closing type entries. I think that you did a good job in putting together this financial information.
Thank you kindly for your time. Thank you, Zeus.
Thanks to Eddie and the staff.
Thank you. Closing out the audit.
Zeus is a cool name, for the record. Thank you for the report.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Thank you both. Thank you, staff. We'll resume back to item number
Can we
7.
go one more?
To adopt it?
Yes.
Approve it? Okay. We're going to move on to item 15. Consider and discuss for possible approval the audit report of Laguna Monterey Water District financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2018.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Houston,
Second.
second by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys.
Resuming back to item 7, consider and discuss for possible approval a resolution adopting a revised service policy for the district, resolution number 1690219.
I think we're gonna wait on some.
I kind of,
Discuss a possible approval resolution adopting revised.
this was continued from the workshop.
That's a resolution, vote, we need to approve that one and the other 2 resolutions. We're requesting that the board move forward and approve the resolutions according to our discussions at the workshop for all 3. This one is the service policy. That's the one with Gomez and.
Is that the one Mr. Gomez is gonna look into to work with the fire marshal?
Yes.
Okay. So do we wanna approve it at this time, or do we wanna wait for that information?
And I have a question. All we would be potentially approving is the rate that was in question. Is that correct? The $50.25 monthly rate for the fire?
It's not even changing.
Yeah.
That's a
No, it's not
carryover.
changing.
That's just a carryover, so it's not even, okay.
What we're requesting is that the board would approve
The service
the
policy.
the service policy as it is, pending the outcome on that particular item for the fire line.
And I think we can take care of it internally when we discuss
We
it
can
with
bring
the
it back
fire
to the
marshal.
board at that time.
And make sure that they change their piping, anything that's connected to irrigation or anything else, we do away with it. And if not, we'll act upon the source policies, the results, the fines, and all that that are included in the policy. Okay. Can you keep going so I can?
The service policy, okay.
Vouchers real quick.
All right, so moved.
There's been a motion made for approval by Mr. Houston.
I will second that, pending any, if we can amend that slightly, pending any information that might change from your findings
On the fire lines.
on the fire lines, correct?
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Avalos. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be moving to item number 8. Consider and discuss for possible approval a resolution adopting a revised personnel policy for the district, resolution number 1700219.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
That motion was made by Mr. Avalos for approval, seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. There are none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 10, consider and discuss for possible approval of board travel to attend the Texas Water 2019 Conference in Houston, Texas on April 2nd through 5th, 2019.
Did we skip 9?
Yeah, you skipped 9.
Excuse me, I did.
Yes.
Thank you. Excuse me. Moving to item number 9, retract. Consider and discuss for possible approval a resolution adopting a revised water conservation and drought contingency plan for the district, resolution number 171-02-19.
Because that one combines that, what was it, contract, and we took language out of that and added it to this, is it worth just having our interim take a look at it for the next 2 weeks and then approving it then, as pending, if he has any suggestions?
We can wait.
Make a
Yes, sir.
motion to table.
I'll move to table.
Motion to
I'll
table by
second.
Mr. Houston, seconded by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item number 10. Consider and discuss for possible approval of board travel to attend the Texas Water 2019 Conference in Houston, Texas on April 2nd through 5th, 2019.
The board needs to approve board travel.
Yes, yes,
So I believe there's 3 board members right now that are traveling
yes,
to Houston, yourself and Mr. Alex Avalos.
yes.
And I was gonna ask Mr. Starkey and Solan if y'all wanted to attend that conference, let us know.
When is it again?
April
April
2nd through the
2nd
First week in April,
through
Tuesday through Friday.
the 5th.
Second to the 5th.
2nd to the 5th, yes.
I don't have to sleep in Adam's room or anything, do I? Or
If you want.
travel by
And the
camel?
other,
or-
I did want to go to the Association of Water Board Directors Annual.
Drive and.
Honestly, though, in your opinion, or even my colleague's opinion, is this an adequate forum for a new guy like myself to attend?
Yes.
There's
yes,
Okay.
A lot of breakout
a
sessions.
lot of breakout
A
sessions.
lot
you can
of
learn from.
product. I mean, it's a show all about Texas water. More than anything, there are lots of just breakout discussions and topics from taxes, finance, I mean, usage, personnel, you name it, they got it.
I just wanted, thank you, Scott, I wanted all that to be on the record so I can have my wife watch this later
I'm not giving you all.
to let her know why I have to leave town again. So thank you, Mr. Friedman, for explaining that. It's very important to serve our community.
Slash nationwide.
We need to go to Houston. Okay.
Are you gentlemen going all week, 2nd through the 5th?
Oh, Lord. That's how long it
It's
is?
a long conference, yes.
You guys are all going the whole time?
Yep.
Wow. Wish I didn't have a full-time job.
2nd to the 5th?
It's up to you.
Do I gotta decide right now?
Yeah, I mean, if I can make it work, I will,
I
but
do?
It's good to me, it's interactive, you meet all sorts of professionals, I mean, you name it, anyone attached to water is there. It's a very professional conference.
Yes.
All seriousness, I do gotta get permission.
You
What if I drive on my own?
You don't have to give a decision
I don't have to
today.
give a s-
This is just for a board to attend.
Right, you can call me tomorrow if you decide to go.
I mean, if I drive and get my own room, are we talking reimbursables here? What's the procedures
You
here?
will be reimbursed back
Okay,
at the, whatever, national.
At the IRS rate, IRS rate.
53 cents a mile. Yeah.
and I'm sure the itinerary and the schedule's already public, so I could look at it,
Also
and, yeah.
posted online.
Okay.
And the meals and lodging and everything will be taken care of.
Look at me, meals, you sure? Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, you
For
said.
IRS regulation.
Let me know tomorrow if you all want to attend. We can.
Yes, sir, we will, and likely will, or I likely will.
Okay.
I move we approve.
Motion for approval by Mr. Houston,
Second.
seconded by Dr. Lalonde. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving to item number 11, Director of Operations Report.
Gentlemen, first thing I have on here is the monthly report, and there were a couple of questions at the last meeting concerning the report. I've summarized January this year compared to January of last year. And I guess the major question that was asked is why was there water loss in last year's report compared to no water loss in this year? After reviewing the report with the customer service staff, we were able to determine what happened is that there's a couple of things that happened. One is that up until August of last year, we had a couple of staff that used to go out and test water meters on a daily basis, or if they got called to do that for a customer. Well, when we went into this agreement with Ferguson, we stopped that because we knew we were going to change out the meters and there was no sense in testing them at that point. So that's why we don't have that. The other part of that is that because of prior administration, the customer service staff had been asked on several occasions to get numbers on water loss or number of meter tests or numbers of leaks and so on. So what was happening is that in some cases they were duplicating that same order. They got a called in for a meter test, which at that point they were wasting some water, so they recorded that as a meter test, but then they were also recorded as a water loss. So that's what was happening at that point. And that's why we had a lot of more water loss than we normally would have had.
Recorded, but not actual, is that correct?
Well, it was actual, but the same call was recorded twice.
I got you. So just the numbers that represented those were skewed because of
Right. At
the way that we were communicating, correct?
Prior administration would ask them, how many calls have we had on water loss?
Mhm.
And how many calls have we had on meter loss, or meter testing? So they had to keep track of both of them. And in order to do that, they had to duplicate that same call.
And also, I don't know if you mentioned that, the water loss, the water during the testing was considered as water loss also, that's why.
Right.
Okay.
So that was the difference on that water loss. But we stopped that since we went into the contract with Ferguson for a change in the meters. And I'll give you an update on the meters in a little bit. Any questions on that report? Going on to the other item was, I brought an item last time about the manhole that collapsed and the cost of that and not having the proper equipment. I was asked to look at the number of times that we would use such equipment and for what. And basically, talking to the managers and some of their seconds in command, there would be very minimal times that we would use them compared to the cost itself. As I put on the report, the cost for a excavator is around $225,000. Looking in the internet and looking for a low boy, because we found that size of excavator, we would need to carry it in a low boy. One of the cheapest trailer cost that I came up with was $35,000. There was another one in there for $19,000, but that was an older unit. And then, in order to pull a low boy, we determined that we needed a semi or a bigger truck than we normally had. So that, again, looking at the internet, I did find one for $50,000, and it was a fairly new semi, but those would be pretty rare, as you can see on there with the 2000 Freightliner. So, unfortunately, we spend a lot more than what we would need it for. And hindsight, it would be much cheaper to just go ahead and rent one rather than to buy one. And the rental for an excavator with bringing it in and taking it back is around a little over $7,000 a month. For a month.
For a month, wow.
Yeah. I also, let me go ahead and pass this on. And the only reason I'm passing this out now is because this happened just this month.
This week?
This week, I'm sorry. We had a manhole that was identified, compromised a couple of weeks ago, so we started looking into it. It was cracked, water was starting to seep in at the island, being sandy.
This is the one they just finished, right?
I'm sorry?
This is the one they just finished, right?
No, that's a different one.
There's the one on Laguna?
That's Laguna and NATO.
They just finished this one this week.
Yes, I'm sorry, they finished it this week, but the other one was on Gulf and, what was that?
Amberjack?
Amberjack, yeah. And that one, that's where we paid $38,000. On this one, the staff did this, and our cost on that was the liner, the inlet, as you see that inlet manhole was $2,095. We bought some bags of cement that we only used one, actually. Our manager, Joey, went and was talking to one of the contractors at the island, and this contractor was laying down some sidewalks, and he had some extra cement that he was getting ready to get rid of. And that contractor came out to the site, and I talked to him briefly, and he said he got me just in the nick of time. So within 5 minutes, I was getting rid of the cement.
Wow.
And he gave us a yard and a half,
Good.
which we used to secure that and fill in the base of that inlet that we put in there. So our total cost on that was around $2,200.
Wow.
And we got an estimate on that, but I'm not sure whether it was including the resurfacing of the street, and the estimate was for $28,000.
Nice savings.
Great job.
And so, but just the resurface, which we will need to get that contractor, that is gonna cost us $5,000 just for resurfacing it. So.
But still, we're only out 7 instead of being out 28.
Yeah.
Great job.
Bravo to the
Joey.
staff. Bravo to staff.
Great job.
Bravo, thank you. District appreciates. The citizens appreciate.
That was the first time, and we're kind of nervous, and we're all thinking about safety first.
Yeah.
So it's kind of deep. We
got our feet wet, and they did a great job.
And we worked on it.
So do we need
A
to,
couple of days, put our well points this Friday, and then start working on it until Monday, and one morning, and we finished it one day.
Yeah, it went pretty quick.
That's a big project, you know, it's a big project,
Big
yeah.
project, yeah, big project.
So do
The
we
cra-
need
the
to start-
cracks in that existing manhole, where were they more or less?
They're
High, low,
about 3
Right
feet
on
from
the
the bottom.
horizontal?
Why, what does that represent?
Some of those vandals
Water
have
levels.
rubber around the middle, and those are the ones that are collapsing.
Probably an old manhole that, they have like a seal in the middle.
Yeah.
Where they connect both and then they fiberglass it. And that's where it starts cracking. It's all
How old
about
do you think that
pressure.
manhole was?
They're the originals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're originals.
Okay.
70s, early
And the,
70s?
and
Both of them
the,
are originals, and
the width of that manhole looked to be like about a quarter of inch. It was real thin. The new inlet was half an inch, so that should last a little longer. So, and it was, the job was done, with the help of the construction crew, and the collection crew, and our distribution crew was on standby in case they needed help. And so it looks like we're forming a really good crew as far as helping each other out,
Yeah.
and that is what really helped. So, and they did a great job on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Good job.
Was that area easier to dig than the Gulf Boulevard area?
yeah, the good thing, our well points worked out pretty
Yeah.
good. That's the main.
As you can see on the pictures, that sand that they were excavating was pretty dry. Because they had those well points out since Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And we had a guy from wastewater that works on a weekend. He went out there and made sure that there was sufficient fuel in that generator to keep those well points going,
That's all.
that pump. So, everybody contributed. There was a lot of teamwork, which was really great.
You just don't want to do it on Texas week.
Yeah, for Holy Week.
It's coming up.
Holy Week.
Why not? You get a shell. Might be the best week.
Thank you.
The other project I've got on here is the meter project update, and I submitted a copy of Karen Ellis, who is the representative for Ferguson. They're the ones that came in and gave the show and sold us the AMI Mueller meter. And everything on here is pretty good. We had really a good 2 days meeting with them. There was a lot that was accomplished. The customer service went through the customer portal. They gave us a lot of training on that. And so there was a lot of good points that were brought up that will eventually help the customer service staff. As far as the meters, at this point, as of this morning, we had over 2,061 meters installed. We had 687 in Laguna Vista, 96 at Port Isabel, and 1,278 at South Padre.
What are the breaks like? I know the big one you had there, if you had Styles up there by the Florence or something that was all flooded out. What was that from the installation of the meter? Or what they just broke the meter getting into it, or? I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. They're on valves, are push on, they're not secured by bolts,
The
but
antique,
it's underground and we don't get to see it. So.
That was a big one.
It was the valve out.
And this, today was the same one. I saw that by Blackbeard's the same, by Dollar Store?
No,
Same.
that was something else.
Oh,
We went shut down for private repairs and
Oh.
the bolt on the valve just had rusted out. So we had another issue on that. Nothing related to the meters one.
okay. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Going back as far as the installation on this meters, our projected time to complete, we were looking at April. first week in April. That will probably happen for South Padre and Laguna Vista. The only other area that we will be behind on is Fort Isabel. And we have approximately 1,600 or 1,588 meters that we will be needing to install here in Fort Isabel. PMI, who is a contractor installing the meters at South Padre, has offered to help. But what we have on contract for them is South Padre, and for the 5/8 and 1-inch meters, that's at $42 a meter. And so my calculations, because we hired 2 individuals to help us, and we formed a team, a couple of teams to help the installation, and that's where we're going with is Laguna Vista. Unfortunately, we had 2 individuals from the wastewater plant that just resigned within the last month and got another job. So those 2 individuals that we hired part-time were hired by the wastewater plant. So we hired another 2 individuals to help us out. But even then, my estimation, if we hired EMI to help us with the Fort Isabel, we would wind up paying an additional $67,000. And we can do it, but it's going to take a little longer. And we'll probably wind up paying somewhere around $6,000.
I'd rather keep it in-house if we can.
Save the money.
Penny saved, penny earned.
And so that's pretty much where we're at with the meter installation, the meter project. The last item I had was the MacCon truck that we went out for bid on September, and we had several vendors that had bid at that point, and that was awarded to Rush Truck Centers out of Houston. And although they weren't the lowest bid, they were like about the 3rd lowest bid, but we went with them because they promised they would have it to us within 90 to 120 days. And 120 days expired last week. They never bothered to call us or tell us what was going on. So we finally called them last week to find out what the status was. And that's when we found out that they haven't even received the chassis. They're telling us that they'll get the chassis about the middle of next month.
That was the story then when we ordered the truck, if I remember correctly.
I'm sorry?
That was the story at that time when we ordered the truck, that the chassis were back ordered, that
Right.
90 days or something, if I remember correctly.
Well, they had told us they would get it to us by first week in February, and by February the 9th, and they didn't. My concern is that, to me, that's very poor customer service. And I'm not satisfied with staff and talking to Mr. Gatlan. We're not satisfied with their response, although they've offered to give us a discount of $2,000.
Extended
By
warranty.
coincidence, we had a vendor that came in yesterday, and I guess he probably was keeping up with dates also to find out if we had gotten our truck. But he told us he could get us the truck and pretty much match what our budget was for that truck by May the 1st. The difference is that he said he can give us a loaner between now and then. So,
Who's the manufacturer of the unit? Who's the manufacturer of the unit? What, is it a Freightliner too?
Well, on the chassis, Freightliner for the.
It's all about that service.
I'm sorry?
It's all about the service and the warranty is the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Well, the original award was made to Rush Truck, and it was for Peterbilt.
And there's a Rush Truck Center that can service it also in FAR or wherever up there.
Right, and that's where they had that's where they put their service would be in FAR. But this vendor that came in.
Yeah, he reviewed the contract.
I had a chance to review the contract where you were having your workshop. There, under termination of agreement, it says the contract may be terminated by us at our option upon 30 days written notice. However, when you look under the section under our rights, when it says, it clarifies that, and it says that we can terminate for cause or convenience, any or all part of it, with 30 days notice. But for cause, upon default by the vendor contractor for delay or non-performance by the vendor contractor, or is deemed in the best interest of LMD for LMD's convenience, that that may be, I'd have to look at that closely, but I think that may give us an out to terminate them without 30 days notice, or at least, it doesn't say that we have to provide them with a certified letter or anything like that. So if we sent them an email that said, hey, our truck isn't here, and, yeah, or you violated the contract, that could be considered a notice to the 30 days. But I would want to look at this a little bit more carefully, but I think that because it's kind of written funny, and it's got a colon, and then it has for cause underlined, and then another colon, so it's something that I would have to look at the language, but I think it looks to me, I don't know why they would have this section in here if we could terminate it for cause.
When that unit was ordered, I specifically remember him saying it was backlogged and delayed at that time, that's was extended beyond.
But this one firm was gonna get it to us early, that's why
Right.
we went with it.
Yes.
Well, they've definitely breached, and you can definitely go to the other guy. The only question is, can you do it immediately, or you have to give
30
them 30
days.
days in order to cure it?
Do we have their, I'm sorry to interrupt, do we have their delivery date of February 9th in writing, or is there an email that a correspondence that occurred that we have as a document that says, look, you said you'd have it here at this date, it's not, so we're good, we'll move on to greener pastures? Or was that just a conversation that took place?
No, it
No,
should be in their
it's,
specs, because in the summary that the procurement officer did, he did write in all of them,
Oh,
the
okay.
delivery date.
So you're going to the bid number 2 is what you're doing basically, so we don't have to go out and rebid it or anything?
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't think so.
So what you can do is let us know tomorrow, see where we can move forward.
Yes, it's written really confused,
Yeah.
it's confusingly written, so.
So what do we do in the meantime, since we don't have it, we rent one?
Well, we have one, but it's not dependable.
Yeah, and we're concerned about spring break coming up,
Yes.
so.
So we're trying to get it,
Is this that truck that was like 350 grand or something like that?
Yes,
That's
sir.
the one.
So the randomness of someone showing up and following the situation, did they go through the RFQ or
Yes,
whatever?
they did.
They did?
Yes.
Were they rated? Like, are they next in line by chance, or no?
Well, they have, the equipment on the truck is something that we would prefer anyway.
I mean, it sounds great to me. I would just want legal counsel's recommendation of, A, can we get out immediately? And B, can we go with the random people that showed up that solve all our problems?
Right.
Without having to go through the whole process again, and delay what we believe is an inevitable need for this piece of equipment. Does that make sense?
Why don't we have an action item at the next meeting to rescind the prior contract?
Yes.
And extend to this other firm
Yes.
the purchase?
My feeling is, you're probably gonna be able to do it right away. Because the part that says 30 days, upon written notice, that's terminated at
And
our.
Rush is a major truck
This is a
distributor.
breach,
And-
it's a
and
material breach.
Rush is a
And
major
the whole purpose of having
transportation.
it is having it on time. And especially if we have some email correspondence where we're telling us, well, you can have it until this date, it's beyond the 30 days, which shows they're not gonna be able to cure it even if that 30 days the purpose of the 30 days is to give them a chance to cure it, before they're in default. And we've already told them you're in default, they told us, we're not gonna be able to get it to you in 30 days. That probably resolves that if the contract is read that way, but it's somewhat ambiguous. So I want to look at it a little bit more carefully, maybe compare it to something else, if I can find something else to compare it to where a decision has been made. But just my general feeling about contract law, probably we can get out of it right away.
Which,
And we bring it back to the board to ratify, approve the next in line and do away with this one.
yeah, and that's the question I have. That's the question I have. There was a process that this district went through to come to this vendor, and do we have to do that process again, or can we take the randomness of someone knocking on the door and
You can go to,
omitting the process altogether, even though you may not have been next in line?
you don't have to go through the whole bidding process.
Okay.
That's why you have the second, third, and that's why you have the other options in the bidding. That's why you get bids from multiple people, part of the reason. Part of it is to get the best prices. You consider a lot of people, if they know that the district's being responsible. The other part is that you have alternates.
So we can just figure on renting something for March then.
No,
That depends.
Sounds like this company, if we're legally allowed to get out of that
Because
contract.
then if we go with
do
this
it.
other person,
They have a temp.
he's not gonna get it to us till May.
Yeah,
but they have a temp.
He was the owner.
He'll give
Oh,
you
but
a
you'll have a
temp,
temp for us,
He has
okay,
a loaner.
okay.
which you need.
Which
by
sounds like we
March.
want, right? I just want to make sure
You
we're
need by
covering our
March
tracks.
first.
I think you can certainly get the loaner from the guy from now. I mean,
If we need it, yes. We still have time by, I don't know how much time.
But they're probably going to want some assurance that we're going to do business with them if they're going to give us a big piece of
We
equipment.
did ask the provider there, the company, if they had a loaner, so they can lend us, while the other one came and said, no loaners. So I guess the other company that came by, they presented that to Mr. Gomez and said, oh, right, let's look at it.
But they were paying attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but again, we'll bring it to the board so you all can approve.
Okay,
Make an action, yeah. Okay, thank you.
we need to keep carrying on. We got issues and issues and issues going. Thank you very much, Robert. Moving to item 12, consider and discuss for possible approval of accepting Port Isabel wastewater treatment plant modifications project partially funded through Texas Water Development Board Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan Number L1000539, Resolution Number 1720219.
Yeah, this is the Port Isabel sewer plant construction. We're complete. We had our walkthrough on December, final completion was February 4th. So this is a resolution to formally accept the project.
I'll move to approve.
Motion for approval by Mr. Avalos,
Second.
second by Dr. Lalonde. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Congratulations. Moving to 13, consider and discuss for possible ratification of emergency repairs to Isla Blanca wastewater treatment plant blowers for the master control panel. Excuse me.
Yeah, this one, Saturday, January 26th, it rained pretty much the entire day. And then we noticed that water got into our control panel that lets the blowers run on auto mode, and it damaged all the I/O parts inside that panel. And so this is the quote to do the repair. Narrows, since it's water damage, we have to restore these materials just to be able to maintain warranty on the product. And so we're looking at a proposal of $14,500 to get those components replaced and get the
What,
back
What happened? I mean, where did the water come from?
The water came from a conduit inside, and this is strange, because the conduit goes from this master control panel through a CMU wall, and then it's the power for the blower. So it never even leaves the blower room, but somehow water got in it, and we really haven't been able to determine how it happened.
Was that part of the roofing project that we did as well?
Well, it never penetrates the roof. There's the
So
concrete roof.
it just followed the line, or?
We went through there, the insurance adjuster came in. We're gonna file a claim
Okay.
on insurance, but even with going through it with the insurance adjuster, we couldn't determine how the water got in the conduit.
Because this is the small room, right? This is the one, not where the big engines are at, but this is a small.
Correct, yeah, when you open up the panel, the
Right.
water was literally dripping in through the electrical
Wow.
conduit to where it damaged the equipment.
It was really strange because there's like 3 different columns of wires, and it was just on one of them. None of the others were touched. The rest of the box was dry. It was just that one column that had some water drops that were coming in,
Yeah.
and we couldn't even tell where it was coming from.
Yeah, like all the conduits that leave the building, like for instrumentation, they're all sealed, no water came in through there.
Right.
And this conduit never leaves the building.
Yeah, I know, I was just surprised because of the repairs we just did there, and I thought we had it all sealed up, that we replaced that whole roof.
Yeah,
If
well,
I'm not mistaken.
Well, when we go from the concrete roof to the shingles, there is some vent, and maybe with the amount of rain.
Yeah, but the vent is away from that panel.
Right,
It's in the middle of the other room.
exactly.
Yeah,
So that's where.
that's why I can't figure out what.
We tried. and-
Yeah, Francisco, for the record, senior wastewater operator, or assistant manager. I did open every L box connected to that conduit. Every L box, I opened it up. I stuck my fingers as far as I could, and they're bone dry. I ran to Ace, purchased a caulk gun and some 100% silicone to put around every L box, because they should be watertight.
Right.
And every L box got 2 screws, because they're not your regular kind that we buy at Ace or Sullivan's or whatever. So I did that. I also injected some at the closest L box or junction box, for lack of a better word, closest to the box, to the whole panel or MCP. I injected some 100% silicone in there in both ends. So in the event water does travel, which is our conjecture, I mean, honestly, I have no earthly idea where it came from.
Right.
That's just our conjecture. Hopefully it comes in and it doesn't make it to that panel again.
Yeah.
We didn't foresee this at all. It's a whole surprise. I
Well,
mean, I spent-
my gut feeling is that the water came from the roof somewhere, and it traveled somehow down that wall
Yeah.
or through the piping or
The
something.
roof, now that you mention that, the roof is the next part of the plant.
Well, I thought, didn't we replace that part then?
Yeah, but that little roof, the
You're
little
right.
slanted one, angled one, were those, what is it?
The inlets, okay.
The inlets to the blowers,
Okay, yeah,
they're not up to par with me. The
Right.
the contractors, they came in and they've got these rubber boots, yeah, like the kinds you see up on the roof, the little
Yeah.
2-3 inch ones. Well, these are more massive, and you could stick your fingers on the rubber boot and the PVC and move the rubber boot. If you can do that, I mean, water.
Water's
finds-
Yeah, and it was
Yes.
blowing, that's what I kind of figured, but that,
So I'm gonna hopefully get some, either Henry's roof cement or something to that extent, and literally patch all that up, because it's
how old is
Still on the back
this
burner
panel
first.
that we're replacing?
Oh, it was installed in 2017, so.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
We have no recourse on it?
Well, since it was due to water damage, it doesn't fall under warranty.
Okay.
And it
And do
actually,
we have
because of
any-
water damage, avoids the warranty, so we gotta get it.
When we look into the insurance, can we see if we have any recourse with the roofing people, if that even pertains to it?
believe it, Enrique, you're looking at
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
we're
okay.
chasing that one down.
Okay.
I think we'll go back on the contract and do a thing.
We don't have any boiler insurance, do we, or anything that covers all that stuff?
Well, the TML, I'm not sure how our insurance policy works.
Do we have a boiler insurance?
Yes.
We do.
Wouldn't that fall under that policy?
We called TML.
You did?
Their adjuster came and looked at it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he would determine whether it falls
Sure.
under the property policy or the boiler policy. But we have both policies with that same
Right.
company.
Okay, thank you.
So we got to replace it, but we're unsure whether we've solved the problem that's causing it, correct?
that. Yeah.
Because this is
I
a
mean,
premature replacement of
Yeah,
this.
is totally unforeseen. We've had plenty of rain events. This one that occurred, what?
This one was pretty bad, because it
Yeah,
was blowing
it
sideways.
was constant,
I mean, it was
and the
really
wind
bad.
was blowing, so, I mean,
That's the problem, is that sideways blowing wind
Yeah.
for about 4 hours.
So I've been up on that roof countless times, caulk gun, I mean, I do care what I have to buy, but I wanna buy something that I know is gonna last. And I have a lot of experience with Henry's roof cement and blackjack and things like that, so I'm trying to think outside the box here.
And again, we still design it, so I mean, even if the water does get from a similar event, I mean, with that silicone in place, it's not gonna get down to
Yeah,
compressor
I
control.
did administer 100% silicone in there, and I injected it in there.
Almost to approve.
Motion for approval by Mr. Avalos,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
very much for your time and effort. Moving to,
We're already past 14, 15,
16, thank you.
16.
Consider and discuss for possible approval of budget amendments for items carried forward from the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2018. Resolution number 173-02-19.
Vacuum, attitude valves, timekeeping software, odor control. So move? Or no? We got to talk about it first, or what?
These were items, The first three items are items that we approved last year, but that those expenses have carried more than the 60 days into this fiscal year, so they didn't get reported last year. So they're going to be paid with this year's funds. So we need this budget amendment is going to increase this year's budget to cover these items which are going to be expensed this year. And the last item is the budget amendment that you guys approved.
Wastewater.
For the odor control project. That requires a resolution, so we're going to take care of all that in one resolution for all four of these budget amendments.
Okay.
Now I can say so moved?
Yes?
All right, so moved.
There's been a motion made by Mr. Starkey.
Second.
There's been a second by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed for the motion. Mr. Avalos was not present at the time. Moving to item number 17, consider and discuss for possible approval of financial report for December 2018. Questions, comments?
We're rich. So moved.
Been a motion made for approval by Mr. Starkey,
Second.
second by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. We did have a full presence of the board at that motion. Item 18, consider...
And let me say,
Yes.
Eddie, again, since you've come on board and your staff,
Yes.
I mean, the confidence level
Yes.
in our financial reporting and everything has, you know, it's a weight off my shoulders, I'm sure, a great weight off of Scott's.
We're glad you were here, and yes, very nice. We're going in great directions.
Cheers.
Yes, compliments. Moving on to item 18, consider and discuss for possible approval of investment report for the quarter ending December 31st, 2018.
Consider expenditures for January.
Questions, comments? Everyone reviewed the investment report?
Yeah.
Again, looks healthy.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made for approval by Mr. Avalos, second by Mr. Starkey. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. 19, consider and review expenditures for January 16th through the 31st, 2019. Any questions on any one in particular? Otherwise, approval for them all.
So move.
Motion for approval by Mr. Avalos.
Move to acknowledge.
Move to acknowledge, excuse me, by Mr. Avalos. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Not opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 20, do we want to take a 5-minute break before we go to 20?
Yes,
Or do we
please.
want to go ahead and enter item 20?
I'm ready whenever y'all are.
I'd like a 1-minute break.
Need a motion to come out of executive session at 7:24 PM.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made by Dr. Lalonde, seconded by Mr. Starkey.
Hey, I'll be a
All
doctor.
those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Item A, discussion on legal matters with counsel concerning open records request. Need a motion to proceed as directed.
Motion to proceed as directed.
Motion made by Mr. Starkey, seconded by Dr. Lalonde. Item B, discussion on legal matters with counsel concerning ratepayers' appeal of the decision by Laguna Madre Water District to change rates. Need a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Motion to table by Mr. Starkey,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Houston. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Item 21, consider an action on executive session if necessary. Meeting is adjourned at 7:25 PM.